Welcome to Narnia, folks. It's time to roll up our sleeves and analyze C.S. Lewis's classic, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a magical adventure story that my friends jokingly call the story of four children who get trapped in a fur wardrobe and discover a world of nougat and life lessons. Sit back, grab a large cup of coffee, or a soda if you will, and let's dissect this mess in our humorous, straightforward way. It all starts in England during World War II, a very boring setting to begin an adventure. The four Pevensey brothers, Peter, the eldest, the worried mini-dad, Susan, the pragmatic and foreign-loving eldest sister, Edmund, the crazy, annoying, troublemaking brat, and Lucy, the weird youngest, the one who sees everything first, are sent to an eccentric professor's house in the countryside to avoid bombs. It sounds like a boring summer vacation, but it's not. Lucy, the curious girl, found an old wardrobe while playing hide and seek. Who would have thought that this wardrobe was a secret portal to Narnia, a world experiencing an eternal winter without Christmas thanks to the physical impact of the evil witch, Jadis the White Witch. Edmund, him again, wanders into Narnia and meets the witch. Jadis, with her classic bribe, delicious Turkish delight, turns Edmund into her henchman, promising him the throne, a cheap promise compared to the price of a Snickers bar. Eventually, the four brothers arrive in Narnia, reunited with Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, two talking side characters like in a Disney cartoon. They learn of the prophecy: four humans will sit on four thrones at Cair Paravel and end Jadis's reign. And then Aslan, the great true lion, kind of like the legitimate president of Narnia, but much more majestic, appears. Edmund is captured. Aslan must make a terrible deal. We'll talk about it later. A great battle breaks out between good and evil. Edmund redeems himself, Aslan is reborn, Jadis is knocked out, and the four Pevensey brothers become king and queen of Narnia, enjoying a golden age that lasts 15 years, before they accidentally stumble through the wardrobe and return to the real world, where time seems to stand still. Summary: four country English children go on holiday, discover the wardrobe, meet the witch who sells candy. One of them betrays them out of hunger. A good lion dies and comes back to life. And finally, they become royalty before losing their minds and becoming children again. The worst day ever. 1. The wardrobe. The Walmart portal. What did Lewis do, choosing a wardrobe? A space-time portal from a piece of furniture? This is classic English. We need an adventure, but we won't go further than the living room. This is a brilliant and economical idea. No spaceship, no fancy spells. Just a closet full of old-fashioned fur coats, probably the professor's. C.S. Lewis taught a generation of kids a lesson. Exploration begins at home. Great. But if it were me, I'd check my insurance card before jumping in. 2. Edmund Pevensey, traitor for food. Edmund is the most controversial character. This kid clearly represents the basic human flaws: greed, jealousy, and bribery. The witch didn't need nuclear weapons or cash, just a sweet Turkish delight. What a terrible trade. He sold out his siblings, sold out the future of a country, all for Turkish delight. I'm sorry, but in America, we have M&Ms, Reese's, Snickers. If Jadis offered Edmund a double-double from In-N-Out Burger, I'd understand. But Turkish delight? Seriously? It's a humorous reminder. Never trust a hungry person. Lewis built Edmund as a redeeming figure, a symbol of forgiveness. But the reality is, he's just a gluttonous brat who gets into trouble. 3. White Witch. Jadis, the Ice Queen, fails. Jadis is a charming but strangely ineffective villain. She's kept Narnia in winter for hundreds of years, but she can't stop an ancient prophecy about four children. She has all the power, eternal ice, and an army, and she still fails. What a bad manager. She should learn to delegate and hire a better marketing consultant. Worst of all, her slogan, always winter, never Christmas. Wait, what? Is that a threat or a promise? Who makes Christmas worse? That sounds like a failed department store ad campaign. 4. Aslan, Jesus Christ, with the good fleece. Aslan, the great lion. This is where Lewis, a Christian scholar, flexes his philosophical muscles. Aslan is the most obvious metaphor for Christ. Unconditional sacrifice, dying for Edmund on the stone table, and resurrection, miraculous resurrection. This Aslan is really cool. He has a beautiful mane, a majestic voice, and most importantly, he is willing to sacrifice himself for a child, Edmund, who betrayed him for candy. What an admirable commitment. If Aslan were a rugby player, he would be the greatest of all time. However, he is also a bit of a difficult character. What does he do during the hundreds of years of eternal winter? But he is the lion. He has the right to. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a great book, no doubt. But when viewed through a modern lens, there are a few points that we need to scratch our heads and ask questions. 1. Pace of action, slow but steady. Yes, this book has a mythical and fable-like feel, but sometimes it's too fast in the important parts and too slow in the beaver hunting parts. Lucy's meeting with Mr. Fawn Tumnus is cute, but the entire golden age of the four Pevensey brothers at Cair Paravel is summed up by Lewis in one page. Hold on, Lewis. We've got a big win, 4 kings and queens who reigned for 15 years, and they even age. That's a whole spin-off series waiting to be exploited. Instead of focusing so much on Edmund eating the candy and Edmund being caught, Lewis should have spent a few more chapters describing Peter and Act's tax laws, Susan learns diplomacy, or Lucy discovers new talking animals. Lewis, you missed a golden opportunity to write another few hundred pages of a bestseller. 2. The power of prophecy. Narnia depends on children. How does a country as rich in history and magic as Narnia depend on 4 children from another world to save it? Fantasy creatures of Narnia? I'm sorry, but what are you doing? You have centaurs, satyrs, dwarves, and you have to wait for 4 war-stricken children from London to fulfill a prophecy? What a lack of confidence in your domestic forces. Have you elected a council so bad that it can't solve its own problems? Lewis is basically telling us, children, you are the world's only hope. This sounds good, but it's also a bit lazy in terms of plotting for adult characters. 3. The religious message, undeniable. It doesn't take a theological degree to see that this book is a subtly, or not so subtly, disguised Christian parable. Aslan is Jesus. Edmund is Judas, the forgiven one. Jadis is, well, Satan. Lewis, I applaud your creativity. You've done what churches struggle with, telling a compelling story of sacrifice and redemption without resorting to long sermons. This is a great way to launch spirituality. You've created a great brand. The 4 Pevensey brothers, through the wardrobe door, don't just find Narnia. They find courage, forgiveness, and, a little too much, a lesson in Christian theology. It's basically the most successful religious education book in the history of children's literature. Period. Bottom line, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a masterpiece. It's an imaginative adventure with a sometimes maddening pace, incredibly naive characters, Edmund, and a hidden religious plot that couldn't be more hidden. Still, it's a wonderful story about courage, family, and the obvious. Sweets can be weapons of mass destruction. Have you ever wondered if there's a closet in your house that leads to another world? If so, check it out. But remember to bring some Snickers with you just in case you encounter the White Witch. That's all for today's video. Like, share, and click the subscribe button with notification bell to see new videos soon.